Box, which is Liberty City's premier phone-in station. But why don't you like clones?
I just hate them. They're so constricting.
Emotiva Dreamcast 1. And I'm just going to call it the Dreamcast 1 because it's the DC-1. And this is the replacement that they put out for the XDA series. There's my XDA over here. Look at it. Look how proud it sits. So it's smaller in footprint, obviously. It's more jam-packed with things. And what is it? What am I reviewing? I'm reviewing the DC-1. What is it? I could literally send you all back to the review of this, which I did a long time ago. It was one of my first. And it's identical as far as it's identical in functionality, except for one thing. It's more money. This is $500. This box here is $500, and I'll pick it up and show you what the back pertains in a second. It's a DAC with a headphone amp. There's two jacks, but there's only one amp, and it has the only benefit over the XDA is got an analog input. Creaky. All right, do I have to unplug everything? I shouldn't have to. We've got RCA analog input, RCA output that you can set to either fixed or act as a preamp with the remote with the volume control. You've got XLR outputs, which I currently have going to the GoRack here. So I'm using this as a fixed output. Then you've got these 5 inputs, and I think, no, they're individual. You got the AES EBU, which is basically XLR digital, which I don't even know any equipment that uses that, honestly. Optical input, coaxial input, a BNC input, which I think is basically the coaxial input in a different form, and then USB. So I can just plug it in to my laptop. This is the Windows 7 laptop that we got running here. Install the drivers on the web page, nice and easy, everything works great. And here's power and the power switch. The power switch. On the front you've got, this is not a keyboard review. Boom. On the front, we've got 2 knobs. Both of them push in and rotate. Obviously, that's what knobs do. This is input menu, and this is volume standby. Now, if we press it, we get into the actual setup menu. And you have, let me see, what do we got? Can I go back? Here, setup. Source, SRC, which you have asynchronous or synchronous. You could set the DAC to run in either mode. You got to go down. Return. Next is mute level. So when you actually mute, which is this button, when you just press it on the remote. By the way, there's a remote. We'll get to the remote. Remote's coming. Mute level, which you can set to -20, -40, or 0, or full mute. Output mode. Now this is what I have changed, where you have either variable or fixed. I have fixed selected. So if I didn't want to use the GoRack to control the Emotiva AirMotive 6 monitors, I would set it to variable. In fact, let's set it to variable, and I'll just ignore that. No, you know what? Let's not set it to variable. Let's set it to fixed, because we're going to talk about other things. Then we've got a return. You've got USB mode, where you could choose USB 2.0 or 1.1. And that has to do, I think, with the drivers? Because it's not a speed issue. It shouldn't be, at least. Return. And then you just have info. Software version 03. So I'm not sure if that's the newest, but that's what this is running, and exit. That's it. Those are your options. You can't even dim. At least that one had the dimmer on there. Now you got to pull out the remote. So here's the remote. On, off, off, woo, and on. That is a cool effect. Don't know why they're always separate buttons. They're separate. Here's my Emotiva XDA2 remote. So this is apparently the old school, and this is the newer one. And I got to say, it's nicer in the hand. I don't know if I take one over the other. Because mute's in the better spot. All right. They're both metal, by the way. This is good for hitting people. On, off, dim. So you could dim it. And it's blue, so you just dim it all the way goddamn down because fuck one's blue. And you get your volume control, which I have it fixed at the current point. So that isn't going to matter. Mute in the middle. And then you have the 6 buttons down here that are to choose between all the inputs in the back. And at least there are fully 6. So let's put the remote down. it's a headphone amp. It's a good headphone amp. It really is. Is it Jotunheim good? Not 100. Not really. It's not up. It's good though. It's in the like the Aoun X1S, Panda Stack sort of range of wow. The problem is, and this is just Emotiva has this issue, is they can't seem to put a fucking 1/4-inch jack on anything to save their lives. And I don't understand. I complained about it 2 years ago when I reviewed that, and I'm going to complain about it again. They give you 2 of them, but they're pulling out the same thing. I can understand too. This is legitimately designed for professional use. You're doing studio monitoring. You're doing recording. Control your monitors. You plug in your studio headphones. 1990s here, by the way, great year. And with this wire, it works fine. Here, you plug those in. When you plug in to the front, all the outputs in the back are disabled. And you could switch inputs. So now it's USB. Now it's analog. Nothing else is plugged in. And it won't loop forever, so it goes all the way to one side, and you got to go all the way to the other side. So analog currently is the FIO X1, the 2nd gen FIO X1, which I have going in through RCAs. And obviously the USB is the laptop. And like I said, if you have the wire for it, it's fine. I can lower the volume on that. And it does the same thing that mine does, where it's a 1/4 decibel adjustment. So if you don't want it at 19.5 decibels, you want it 19.75 or 20 or 20 . So it's very detailed. The volume control, much faster. I'm gonna compare. Let's compare. So there's mine sitting there at +8 because I'm running XLR. 0. That was 8 decibels. This swings down like 70 decibels. It takes forever. I did it entirely on the review. So this one, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 decibels. 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 11, 10. Oh, Jesus Christ, blown up those headphones. Not really. It's got power. It's got enough power. It doesn't have it doesn't have an Aorist amount of power. It doesn't have, I guess, a Magni 2 Uber would outpower this. The specs are on the site here. Hold on. Where are your specs? Give me the headphone. Headphone amplifier output. 10 ohms. No one uses that. We all use... Why is it giving me voltage? It's giving me volts, RMS. Oh, there's wattage. Okay, never mind. So the highest it shows here is about 1 watt from the analog input from digital sources. Yeah, it's the same thing. So at 47 ohm, where I was usually judged by 32, but at 47 ohm, it's showing 1,070 milliwatts. So about 1 watt per channel. That's under even the non-Uber Magni 2. So not a crazy powerhouse, but 1 watt a channel is a lot. My issue with the headphone amplifier in this is simply a convenience thing, because here are some ether flows. It's the wire they come with, and it's just like, go. I saw that video once. So then you gotta go buy an adapter, and then you can go. Once you plug, and it's, now I know it's sitting on my table real low, but it's just like, that's an annoying spot for him. Where's my remote? Because I'm too lazy to turn that knob. It's a clean DAC. It's a very clean DAC. And it's a clean headphone amplifier. The headphone amplifier in that Emotiva, it got a little sketchy at some point when I started actually reviewing bigger and better things. I started noticing the negatives of that headphone amp. Whoa! So she'll jump up real high, but she goes up and down both directions. That's weird. Interesting. So I set the mute on this to -20. So when you mute, instead of it going, you know, down to nothingness, it just comes down 20 decibels. But apparently that means if you have your output set to -20 already, if you're not outputting full tilt, hitting mute at -20 literally brings it to -20. So nothing's, like right now, nothing's changing because I have it set to -20. The volume is constant. So that's a software issue. It should take it 20 decibels down from wherever you are. So if I'm at 0, it takes it to -20. If I'm at -10, it takes it to -30. It doesn't. It takes it to -20. So if I'm at -18, it takes it to -20. If I was just at -36, I had it playing quietly, I hit mute, it gets louder. That's weird. Okay, but we'll live with it. I can live with that. I'm fine. I'm fine. The headphone section, it is very good. I can't deny this a place amongst the pines. Was it a place amongst the pines? Walk amongst? I don't know. I mean, look at it on this desk right now. Look what it's doing. We've got an XLR outputting to either powered monitors, where if I switch it to variable, I could adjust the volume like that, which at least will be faster than it was on that. It was useless on that. So that's an improvement. I have it sending to the DV-Rack here, which I just prefer because I can leave it up front, and I've got sub-synth. No sub-synth? Sub-synth. Mute. Alright, fine. Leave that alone. That was another review that I did probably 2-3 weeks before this one. But, so we got XLRs that are outputting, doing powered monitors, or they could do a big amplifier. We got RCAs that are outputting, and again, these are linked with, they're both going to be fixed if you set to fixed, or they're both going to be variable if you set to variable. Since they're both set to fixed, and I'm using this simply as a DAC and not as a preamp. It would preamp if I plug headphones in, which I just showed you adjusting the volume. But right now the volume doesn't do anything because it's fixed. But I've got to go into a Stax amp so I could pull out these L300s and oh man, I'm telling you, if you're gonna judge DACs, Stax. Oh yeah. So here, wait. You could hear that just fine. So now I'm going to switch to whatever the fuck is playing here. Skrydle. It's just Skrydle. Okay, so that's playing. Lower that. And we want to mute that, so let's... So now, plugging that in cuts off all the back outputs. These aren't doing shit. These aren't doing shit. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 2 different headphones. I'm going to lower the volume, because headphone volume works once you have that in there. So now I've got Ether Flows and DT-990s. 1990s. So they should be, they're both pretty hard to drive. They're not super easy. But I'm going to just set this volume and then compare. I mean, it's powering both of these with no apparent... Oh. That's Alt J's left hand free, by the way. So if I mute, see, it lowers them, but it doesn't pause them. Pause. So I understand the point of the dual outputs if you're literally in a recording session and you and the artist need to hear something he puts on his. As long as the headphones are very similar in impedance and efficiency, you can do this. Otherwise, if I put on like the Hi-Fiman Edition S up there, which are super easy to drive, or even the M40Xs, which are super easy to drive, and the ethers, one of them is going to be real fucking loud and one's going to be quiet. So, cute. Understandable, but I'd rather see just one and have it be 1/4 inch. So that it's a longevity thing, people. I don't care, there's no sound difference between 1/4 inch and 3.5. They're the exact same thing, one's just bigger. But guess what doesn't break? The bigger one. The bigger one I could put here and just be like, I could lift the whole fucking unit up with the 1/4 inch jack and not worry about breaking it. If I plug a 3.5 millimeter in and then try to lift something up with it, things are just gonna break. So that's my main complaint with going with 3.5. I like Emotiva, obviously. I like their policies. I like how they're bringing manufacturing back to America a bit. I like how their website is just simple. They give you all the specs. They show you the insides of their products. They got amazing customer support. I had a problem with these, and we went back and forth for weeks. Communication, meeting the guy directly. And on the phone, if I needed to be on the phone, it was perfect. So I like this. It'll power most headphones that you could use. It'll run for powered monitors. I mean, obviously, it's not designed for their monitors. That would be dumb. It's designed for monitors in general. And the analog input adds another layer of... I actually bought an analog to digital converter to try to add an analog input to that, because it would have... once you have that, you can add other things to your system. And it's super clean. It just comes right through. So... I approve of this. I approve of the Dreamcast one. I'm just going to make it that so that the Dreamcast name comes back. It needs to come back. It's a little warm right here. Just a little warm. And, can I stand by with this? It's like a mute. It says volume standby. Yet, holding it down just puts on mute. You have to use the remote to go off. That's weird. You're weird. Here I could just go. So they've removed a lot of the buttons from the front, but they've added some interesting knobs, and there's actual menus. There's no menus for that. That one didn't. So it's the improved model. You could definitely tell it's the future of what that was. And I can't wait to see what happens after this and next. Maybe they'll have a 1/4 inch jack.